How you doing? What's up,
Doing,
man?
doing good, Joe. How are you, man?
Good, good. Guys, welcome once again to Real Estate Reality, your live stream for real estate here in Los Angeles with your hosts, Darren and Joe over at Urban Hillsides Real Estate. Thanks for joining us today, Monday, 2 p.m. Uh, we got a lot of ground to cover, Darren. So let me just first start off with our disclaimer, and I'm going to use the short version, Darren. This is purely our opinions, and you should not take any of these opinions as investment advice. They do not represent Avenue 8, our brokerage. But again, we find topics, we find listings that we feel are interesting, and we do mean to help you. But again, buyer beware, do your due diligence. Okay? All right. So let's jump into it. So, Darren, I know you wanted to talk about rent relief for middle class and low income people in California, as I pull
Sure.
it up.
It was
Let's
a
see.
Los Angeles Times article from now, maybe a couple weeks ago, week and a half.
Uh-huh.
And just to characterize it, I was very excited to see this article and see that some work is being done in this direction. Um, I've always felt that rent relief and some subsidies should be in place. My biggest struggle has always been that the way it's been structured in Los Angeles and in many cities is that the landlord, the owner of the buildings, are the one doing the subsidy. That just doesn't make sense to me. That they are a single class of citizens that are subsidizing rent. But if a broader class of citizens are subsidizing rent and it's properly managed to serve those in need, I'm in full support of that.
Right. Well, this is a great example of that, at least on the state side. And, I guess I'll just do a little reading and you can make some comments as we go.
Great.
Okay. All right. So buy a luxury building, then lower the rent. A housing fix for California's middle class. In hopes of plugging the state's affordable housing shortage, some California government agencies are purchasing buildings, usually luxury ones, and doing the opposite of most real estate buyers. They're lowering the rent. The programs are geared towards middle income workers, including police officers, teachers, and nurses, who make too much to qualify for most traditional subsidized housing, but still struggle to afford a place near their work, according to government authorities and the private partners involved. They hinge on a unique financial model that involves local property tax subsidies. Proponents say the approach makes thousands of units across the state more accessible to those who aren't high earners, serving the so-called missing middle, excluded from other affordable housing programs and left behind by a runaway real estate market. At least three government agencies have launched these programs, bringing rents down by double-digit percentages in places such as Long Beach and Pasadena. In all, the government agencies known as Joint Powers Authorities have bought more than 20 buildings, totaling more than 6,000 units. Questions remain about the long-term consequences and underlying economics, including whether the cities, which must approve the deals and help underwrite the rent reductions, will actually be repaid. Some also dispute whether the rent cuts are large enough to make the program worthwhile.
Sure. Let me pause there.
Yeah.
I do think all that's relevant, and I think a lot of that comes down to what the city is and government can often is not so great at, and that is like deciding who to help and where to help. I love that they're helping the middle
Yep.
because for years at this point I've been complaining, and everybody knows the middle shrinking. Um, you need a strong middle. So those in greater need have more resources, and the middle really hasn't, and they've just felt kind of the quality of life slipping away. So that excites me a lot. Um, but then how you oversee the program to determine who comes in, how long they can stay, whether they're utilizing it to be a better citizen. I'm not saying I have the answers to all that, but I think that's what makes a program like this work or not work. And maybe the city needs to, or government needs to seek some outside help, businesses where they can come up with some better ways to approach this and make it beneficial for all.
Yeah. Well, I was reading the article earlier just to refresh, and yeah, I think both sides have valid arguments for and against it. As you said, this missing middle, we need to help them. On the other hand, people are questioning whether this is really a sizable rent discount. Also, when there are rents in similar areas that are just as low, if not lower. So they do point out quality of life as being another side of it. You know, you get a low
Sure.
rent, maybe you don't get a very nice building either.
Right. There's always, programs are going to work for some people and not for others. And some people will like it and some people won't. We obviously know that's always the case. Like I can start by saying, I think it's great that they're trying to approach those professions that are services that are needed
Yeah.
locally, physically. Police officers, teachers, they have to be in a specific location, and keeping them closer to work is beneficial for
Yeah.
them, and they should be able to do their job better and serve better. But I would like to see it go beyond that. But it really needs to be able to be managed, engaged. Like even the rent subsidy program that we have going on now through COVID, it the abuse is awful. It's awful. It's not well managed. And that's what people will complain about with government, and it's true. It is true. It's poorly managed. Government needs to step up and manage things better, and then more people will have faith in it and be willing to provide their tax dollars and see results. The results don't come immediately, but there just doesn't seem to be a real effort to find a more efficient system, which is why people will tend to gravitate towards putting that control in the hands of private industry. But the problem is private industry is seeking profits, whereas government is supposed to be seeking a stable environment and safety for all.
Yeah. Well, in this case, they were talking about the management side doing pretty well in terms of their service fees and percentages. So, in the long run, yeah, the government is holding the bag. I think they said once it gets paid, they hope to see ways to either resell it, the property, or but it was like 20, 30 years off to find that profit.
Right. I think this is, it's a 2020 attempt at, what used to be large institutional housing for subsidized housing, which it's been proven it doesn't work effectively. Those areas become bad. It has to be more of an integrated system, and purchasing things throughout in different regions makes more sense. It's really just managing it, man. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to determine whether someone is putting an effort forth to grow and get better, and get themselves off a subsidy, and move on so that the next person who needs it can absorb it. Again, I don't know if there's a black and white definition of it, but there has to be more rather than what I say to our council member. I get upset when I say, by today's standards, if you're a tenant, you're a victim. If you're a landlord, you must be the aggressor, just by your singular role. And that's clearly not the case. It's too simple. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it looks like here, I'm just going through the article a bit, it says the Los Angeles City Council is awaiting a staff report on the possibility of joining. In Northern California, the San Jose City Council declined to participate after city staff concluded the risks and costs of joining outweigh the potential benefits. Despite such misgivings, the programs expanded quickly during the pandemic as rock bottom interest rates made it easier to finance acquisitions, and economic uncertainty meant fewer traditional property investors were competitors. And for some renters able to afford housing that was previously out of reach, they have been game changers. I am able to do my job better, says Renee Mayer, fifth grade teacher in Marin County, whose commute plunged from 2 hours to 8 minutes when she moved into a subsidized development in the Bayside town of Larkspur. The most active authorities purchasing buildings are California Statewide Communities Development Authority, or CSCDA, and the California Community Housing Agency, or CalCHA, which launched the first program in 2019. Excuse me. It says rent levels vary by income, but in properties they have purchased, building-wide rent declines have averaged about 10% from what the previous owner charged, with greater decreases seen for the lowest income units, according to John Penkower, a managing director at CSCDA, and Jordan Moss, founder of Catalyst Housing Group, the main private company working with CalCHA. Moss said the reductions enable tenants to put more money away for savings, healthcare, and education, and saving time on long commutes. Without a commute eating hours of her day, Mayor 25 said she's able to spend more time with students as well as work toward her goal of being an administrator.
Right. So, gosh, I imagine something like that. Great. You're a teacher. You want to apply for this program. You can spend more time with your students. Great. I expect you to send me a monthly report on the additional, what you've done with those additional hours, so that I know you're genuinely giving back. And that's fantastic. That's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. I think there has to be an accountability system built in. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but there should be some definition of accountability. And I think people are willing to be accountable if they're told they need to get the help and to get the subsidy, and to let them know that this is a program that lasts for this long per individual. Let's say it's 5 years. Mm-hmm. Is that a goal that works? What will you do with that time? How will you get off the program so that the next person can come in and use this help? Those are the type of things I would love to see government do. And that becomes a win-win for the communities. And then it's something I'm happy to send my tax dollars to.
Well, let me, because it's a long article. Let me just finish out on the local subsidies, just to kind of give that answer, and then we can move on. Local subsidies. The middle income programs, as described by backers, are not simple real estate transactions. Joint powers authorities, which issue and manage bonds on behalf of local governments that join as members, help fund the middle income programs. They issue bonds and use the proceeds to purchase a property, as well as pay the private companies that arrange the financing and manage the buildings. Because the authorities are government entities, they don't need to pay a property tax. Those savings are passed along to tenants in the form of lower rent, while the bonds entice investors with interest payments. The bonds mature in around 30 years. Once they are paid off, proponents say the city can direct a sale of a property with no debt, or run the property and take out a loan on the buildings. The proceeds from either of those transactions goes to the city, which should mean the city receives more money than the property tax they lost out on, those involved in the program say. Cities can force a sale or refinance as soon as 15 years from the bond's issuance, though that would make it hard to get their money back. Each project is different, but the joint powers authorities tend to serve households making the upper limits of what is considered low income to those making moderate incomes, with roughly an equal amount of apartments served for each income bracket. To move in, tenants must apply and verify their incomes are within the required bracket. Tenants who make more and live in the property before an acquisition by an agency aren't evicted and can renew their lease to stay as long as they want, authorities said. Once they do, those units become income restricted. In some cases, after a building acquisition, rent for some units at the upper income limits hasn't dropped and market rate is being charged. But backers say that over time, limitations on rent increases embedded in the programs mean those units should become cheaper than they otherwise would have been. At times, the programs have also provided subsidized housing for people who could qualify for traditional low-income housing projects based on their income related to the cost of living in the area. In pricey Marin County, that includes Teacher Mayor, who benefited from both the typical rent declines from the program subsidy as well as a special teacher subsidy offered by Catalyst.
Right. So, yeah, again, it's how you craft it. I mean, I could see things like, you help. There's assistance in helping grow your income, and that your rent goes up. 5% of your income increase. So
Right.
that bam,
Exactly.
they're helping
Yeah.
you grow. You're giving a
Right.
little back. You're still growing and gaining the majority of it. But
And things are
again,
moving along.
it always comes back to the accountability for me that I've seen it in the last month and a half, or the last year and a half, the last 2 years with COVID. As soon as you put people in a certain bucket, they just adhere to
They stay
that,
there.
how you've characterized them, and they
Yeah.
fall into place.
Yeah.
So these are the people who talk about socialistic tendencies, and I think there are a lot of great things about them, but if you don't make people accountable, and they're just something that's available without any effort, then you won't get any effort. It just
Yeah.
happens. There will be people that will move in that direction. So,
Yeah.
so great. I'm really glad this exists, and I hope they expand on it, and I hope they get some really creative people to help manage it and make it function well.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's a good start, and at least we're trying. So.
Yep.
Okay. Next, we were going to cover Avenue 8, which is our brokerage. They do a monthly market report, and this one I glossed through, so you might need to highlight a couple things, Darren. Let me go ahead and start reading. It's themed House versus Home. And again, this is their October market report, observations on the real estate market. The past year saw most Americans spend more time at home, which accentuated the importance of our living space and refined how we view and interact with it. But just what makes a house a home, rather than four walls made of brick and mortar? Let's take a look from a few different angles. What makes a house a home has not changed, but most people want a safe place to live, laugh, love, and eat. So top factors they have here in their study: happiness, 57%, love, 51%, security and safety, 50%, laughter, 44%, shared meals, 43%. That's what makes home. Okay. After spending much of 2020 locked in their residences, most people still associate positive emotions, social experiences, and an overall sense of comfort with the feeling at home. Home improvement spending has been soaring as owners look to make their living spaces more accommodating. Hunkered down at home during the pandemic, Americans invested more than ever on home improvements and show no signs of relenting. Growth in annual spend for the sector is expected to double in 2022. Okay.
Right. So this is why I wanted to kind of go into this. First off, I love the fact that Avenue 8, our new brokerage, is honing in on, emotional connections to our house, to our homes, where we live and what drives us to live in different spaces. We've always honed in on the emotional connection and the desire to be in a certain community and activities related to the area that you're choosing. That's the most important thing about being in a house. And I know we all tend to focus on how big is it, bedroom, bathroom counts, and which is also important to have a sense of space. And the emotional connection is huge. And the study showing that, under COVID, what's happened, construction has gone through the roof because people have been stuck at home and they've spent a lot of time at home, and they're like, hey, I'm here a lot. I really want to like it more. I can do things. and those that had the financial means to do it through COVID, and into next year because it's become such an awareness. Even now that I'm going out, like inviting some people over that I feel safe with, and socializing more. It's like, yeah, I want to have a good play. I want to connect with the people we're inviting over. You're being more selective
Yeah.
on who you're connecting with, and it all relates. We all just want to be more comfortable at home. So good for Avenue 8 for honing in on this, but then it's talking about a real trend as far as availability of construction, and gets into costs and what to expect into next year in that market.
So it continues. No one spends more on home renovation than Californians, especially specifically homeowners around the Bay Area and LA. So you can see here average spend of home renovations by city 2020. San Jose was number one, 30,000. San Francisco 21,750. Los Angeles 20,500. San Diego 20,000, and then out to Miami 20,000. The national average is 15,000. Nationwide, the median spend on renovation per household was 15,000, right? Up from 13,000 in 2019. But homeowners in metro areas in California spent much more, which may reflect the budgets of higher income residents as well as the higher costs of labor. Yep. As the definition of home changed, priorities shifted. Investment in outdoor space and home offices increased significantly. So it shows shifts in home improvement projects 2018 to 2020. Interior remodels went down 4%, while outdoor upgrades went up 7%, and home offices went up 4%. A new world where everything from work to play takes place at home drove demand for outdoor upgrades and home office improvements, two key trends that continue today, while decreasing spend on interior remodels. People are living in their homes longer, giving owners time to transform their houses into sanctuaries. Nationwide, the average home ownership tenure has nearly doubled in the decade since the end of the recession to about 8 years. In the Bay Area and LA, the average tenure is even higher. Housing turnover is expected to continue to decline as more Americans age in place.
Yeah, I think
Macro
another
condition.
very interesting trend to point out, and that's part of what's going on in the market with lower inventory. That's cited in many articles we cover. People are staying at home. People now have, even if you're older, you have the ability to take that 3,000 square foot house and maybe create subsidized rent in an ADU, or create another space where you can have an in-home care, live in that space to make your life a little easier, and it is a trend that's expected to continue. So, yeah, important to understand.
Macro conditions in expensive markets forced would-be buyers to rent rather than settle into permanent homes. In the nation's most expensive housing markets, the widening gap between the cost of renting and owning has forced more people to put off finding their forever homes in favor of shorter-term living arrangements. Many Americans may struggle to find homes in moderately priced markets where investors have gobbled up housing stock. And it's got Phoenix listed high, Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte, Las Vegas. Investors are buying the most houses in cities with moderate PTR, price to rent ratios. Institutional investors have been targeting hotter markets where the price to rent ratios are still moderate, which will decrease inventory and further dim the prospects of individual home ownership. Let's see. As iBuyers expand, homes are increasingly treated like any other asset, but the luxury market has remained untouched so far. Recently, leading iBuyers have aggressively increased their market share nationwide, but they have not been able to crack the most competitive markets or completely shed their reputation as discount buyers. The way that a property traditionally changes hands through a trusted human broker may play too important a part of what makes a house feel like a home. The idea of home makes us warm and fuzzy inside, and the ways you're spending our time and money have proved that it's more important than ever. But as the market rebalances post-pandemic, attention could turn to the ways in which an aging population and institutional investors will affect supply and demand. We'll be watching and report back on future editions of the 8. So, yeah.
Right. So great article. Again,
Not a typical market report.
No, it's not. It's very connected with like emotions and reality and patterns and habits. And, one thing, I think I've mentioned this before. I don't know exactly how they do it, but you could attempt to limit investor purchasing, possibly, to try to bring some balance to the market and somehow give an owner buyer more weight, to try to compensate a little bit for the inventory. I don't see that happening, but it's the idea that continually comes to mind for me that could have an immediate impact. Because it is what happens. Investors come in and buy up anything that has any upside potential. And nowadays with ADUs and SB 9 in place where more units can be added, it's just going to be harder and harder for a buyer to actually come in and compete with investors in some case if they're still being as aggressive in the market.
Right. Well, great. So, guys, I put this in the comments, both the LA Times article we were referring to on middle income help for rent, and then also this house versus home October market report from Avenue 8. And they do encourage you here at the bottom to sign up for their newsletter, and you can get more reports as well, I'm sure. Okay. Let me get to solds. Let's see. Sent. Okay. Okay, so we will start with solds in the last 7 days. And let's see. We're going to pick some highlights with the theme of seller wins and buyer wins. The first one.
Joe, I just felt the need to kind of maybe point out why we're doing some of these, and in my opinion, picking some every week just to try to identify trends. Obviously, we point out how many new listings, how many sold listings, to identify that trend in an inventory perspective, but also maybe to try to really stay on top of for our buyers and sellers. How quickly things are moving, how they're selling, what's selling, why it's selling. So that's why we're going through and evaluating a few of them every week to try to make sure you feel like you're on top of that, on what's going on in the market.
Yeah, it's definitely not just about that particular house. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that we find. I mean, we may find. We may be persuaded to like one property more than the other, but we are trying to identify certain components that are making those properties move. Or not move,
well, let's look at
matter.
Yeah, let's look at 1949 Phillips Way. This is in Highland Park. It listed at $1,149,000, and the sold price you can see here $1,515,000 for an increase of what is that? $366,000. So it's 1949 Phillips Way. Let me get to the pics.
It's a pretty, it's an awfully nice photo for the entry there.
Yeah. So it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,728 square foot of living space. And in Highland Park, let's see, 1965 was its original build date. And what was the, 7,200 square foot of lot. This was brought to us by Deirdre Solomon and Shannon Reed over at Keller Williams Los Feliz. And then on the buy side, Caroline Roa Luat Young. Completely gone over. Look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, they do a nice job of, it does. It's completely remodeled. Staging is great, shows well, a lot of natural tones. Very modern, yet eclectic in the staging components, so it's flexible once you buy it and what direction you may want to go in.
Yeah.
I love the neighborhood. Views are nice. Balcony living off the back, but they've also carved out they have a side yard which has nice
Yeah.
access, and
There's
that's
some
great.
terracing there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah. You know, one thing I noticed, Darren, and I know we were talking about this for an upcoming listing of ours, but about staging, sometimes people can overdo it. Here, I thought they did just enough. I don't know if that was by budget or by design or a little of both, but
I think
wasn't overdone.
We're seeing more and more the staging is it's still clearly happening on almost all
Yeah.
listings that sell for top dollar, but it's a little less in volume. You're right. I don't know that maybe it's based on price, but all the trends as far as design and layout have been simplification, white on white, fewer distractions in a space, and clean line and simple. So I think less on the staging side is following that trend.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Let's see. All right. The next one we'll see is 1015 Nordica. Nordica. Oops. Nordica. There it is. Okay. So this listed at $1,095,000 and landed at a sold price of $1,425,000. This is in Mount Washington area. Let's see what it looks like. There we go. So 1015 Nordica Drive, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,584 square feet of living space. Again, sold price $1,425,000. It's on a 6,000 square foot lot. It was built originally 1977, and it took 14 days on the market to get sold. Brought to us by Elizabeth Daly at Sotheby's, and on the buy side, Amir Hussein. How you doing? Congrats, Amir, over at Compass.
Right. So deck living again, similar kind of living room out to a deck. The house is pushed all the way towards the front of the lot because of the hillside. I see some opportunities to get outside, but not like the previous house we just looked at. It's still a little rougher terrain and maybe not as many flat destinations in the yard, but they put some effort into it. Clean, similar in kind of general feel, white on white with some more eclectic type staging. But the other one just felt cleaner and better. But still, good home. So no surprise it sold as much over asking as it did.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we are going to 1926 Michael Terena. I never know which one it is. Let's see. U6. Maybe it fell off. No, there it is. I think this one sold pretty quick. Let's see. So for this one, it listed at $2,178,000 and landed at $2,500,000 for a $322,000 increase over list. And let's take a look at the stats. Okay. It's a 3-bedroom, 4-bath. This is Silver Lake. 2,294 square feet of living space on a 5,300 square foot lot. Took 10 days on the market, and original build year 1938. Brought to us by Lauren Reichenberg, listing agent, and on the buy side, Christopher Pickett at Douglas Elliman.
Sure. So some remodeling. I don't think it doesn't look like a recent remodel, but on the newer side. There was one that sold, I believe it closed last week, not far from this, which was a bigger house with a pool and a bigger lot, but it was a fixer. I think it sold around the same price range. So, having a house that's move-in ready is a better match for some people. So they're willing to pay for that. But it's clean. It's on a fantastic street. Mitchell Terrena is great throughout the entire all of Silver Lake from end to end.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's like a huge wow factor other than what you just said, the area and the street. But it's clean and it's ready to move in. So,
Yeah.
great. All right. Next, we have.
Did you ever think you'd be saying that, Joe? $2.5
What?
million. I don't think there's a huge wow factor. Yeah,
No.
it's all right.
That is strange. All right. So we're going to 2357 Fair Park Avenue. Let's see if I can find it here. There it is. And this listed at $1,149,000. Sold price $1,457,000 for a $308,000 increase. And let's see here. And obviously these are seller wins on the outside. I'm sure some buyer wins here too. People very happy to have these homes. But it's 2357 Fair Park Avenue. This is in Eagle Rock, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,484 square feet of living space on a 6,300 square foot lot. $1,457,000. Days on market is 14. Built originally 1923, and this was brought to us by Tracy Doe, Rhonda Doyle over at Compass, and on the buy side, buy side Mary Regal and Rob Calick.
Right. So, what are the trends we're seeing amongst all these top sellers that sold way over asking? Clean, white on white paint job, nicely staged, and in good neighborhoods. But believe it or not, the latter you're gonna max out your price with those first couple components, and this shows well. I must say, I think we probably have some of the most beautiful garages in the country, man. I mean, this one is staged as a small at home office with lots of some nice color pops. It's great. They're extensions of living where you don't need to park your car in the garage, to keep the snow off it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we will now go to what, again, on the surface, could be seen as a buyer win. So we're going to go first to 2251 Lyric Avenue. Let's see. Lyric. There it is. Oh, that's another Lyric. Hold on. There it is. Okay, so this listed at $1,458,000. The sold price $1,410,000, and that's a $48,000 below the list price. Let's see what's going on here. Again, not a big difference, but I remember looking at these photos. It's a great looking house. So 2251 Lyric Avenue. This is in Los Feliz. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square feet of living space on a 5,800 square foot lot. $1,410,000 was the final price. Took 12 days on the market. 1965 was its original build year. This is brought to us by Mark Hernandez and Matthew Whittick. And on the buy side, Mark Mintz was the buying agent.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
It's kind of a telltale sign. It's common to put interior photos. I remember when I first did that, put an interior photo as the lead picture.
Yeah, there's a reason.
And I had a client say to me, "What are you doing? Why aren't you putting the outside of my house on the first photo?" I'm like, "Well, that interior photo is the emotional draw, which is going to give you the bump in price. The exterior photo is going to be there. But sometimes when you're scrolling through photos and you get to the exterior photo and it's, if not the last, very close to the last photo, it says something. So
Yeah.
in this case, photo 20 of 20 is the front photo. And
Yeah.
it's probably the biggest limitation on this property. And to some people, it's not as important. But, so it's pushed all the way up against the street. Um, there isn't a lot of architectural value at the front of the property. And it's got probably that choice in awning didn't help them at all on the top floor. The wire awning with the cloth is not an architectural feature of the property.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's purposeful and it keeps it shaded and it's made it better to live in the house, but it's not something that's nice to look at.
Yeah.
So, that's probably why this property sold for a little less.
Yeah.
Because the interior looks nice, seems
Yeah.
to flow well, it's clean, it's all white, but the curb appeal is not on the higher end.
Okay. Let's look at the next one. Let's see. So now we're going to 3406, the Paseo. Let's take a look. Paseo. Paseo. Okay. So this started at $1,599,000, and it landed at a sold price of $1,425,000 for a sizable $174,000 below list price. So let's see what happened here. On the outside, I saw this photo. I was like, this looks pretty good.
It does. I agree.
Yeah. So 3406, the Paseo. This is Glassell Park. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,888 square feet. A lot of square footage. 7,400 square foot lot, and it took 12 days on the market. 2016 build, so very recent. And this is brought to us by Stephen Clark over at Compass and our good friend Amy Bennell at Coldwell Banker Realty. So congrats to both. We know them. I don't see anything wrong with this picture so far.
It looks a little narrow. It's the only thing I can think of. If you go towards the end, it's kind of a narrow lot. So the house was built kind of narrow.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's the only thing I can think of that would have been a limitation. So maybe it was an issue with flow. Maybe it felt restrictive as you navigated throughout the spaces. It also looks like it's a lot of stairs up to the front door. A lot from the street.
Right.
Because the garage is pretty far away. So it's a house where you're forced to stay in shape just by showing up every day. Coming and going from the house. But yeah, you're right. It looks clean. The stairs aren't an issue. If the narrowness, because it kind of feels when you're inside the house like it's a small lot. Small lot subdivision. When they're doing it on small lots, they're going really tall. It's not, but it's built that way because of the narrowness of the lot.
Got it. Okay. We need one. We found the one. So, all right. 2653 North Vermont Avenue. I believe this is Los Feliz. Let's see. Vermont 2653. So this started at $4,995,000 and sold price $4,700,000 for a $295,000 reduction from list price. Let's check it out. Again, I probably won't be complaining too much about this place. But,
Well, at $4,700,000, I hope not.
So it's 2653 North Vermont Avenue. It is 4-bedroom, 5-bath, 4,300 square feet of living space. And it sold for $4,700,000 on a good sized lot, 31,722. took 42 days on the market to sell. Originally built 1923 and brought to us by Mark Noah and Kyle Cordick at Hilton Highland. And on the buy side, Benjamin Russell, a fellow Avenue 8 agent. So congrats to Benjamin. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a huge lot. That's probably one of the reasons, in addition to neighborhood, that it's commanding the price it did.
And it's not hillside. That is all flat. A good amount of it.
Usable. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a unit, a studio over the garage, which offers a lot of flexibility. Yeah, I don't know what to say, Joe. It's the reality is 300,000 percentage-wise is not enormous for this price point.
Yeah.
The other ones we were talking about went from 1.1 to 1.4. That's a lot. It's a high percentage, but in this case, not as much.
Well, let's finish out on that story. So this is a $13 million, $995,000 property list. It's sold for $13,555,000 for a $440,000 reduction. Let's go to Chiselhurst. All right. Sure, everyone should be happy here. Let's see. Okay, so let's check out the stats. 2331 Chiselhurst Drive. This is in Los Feliz. It's a 7-bedroom, 11-bath, 10,000 square foot living space. And let's see, 16,955 square feet of lot and 143 days to sell, days on the market. 2021, brand new home. And this was presented by Aero Malka and let's see. Oh, and then Justin Freeling and Rob Kalick were on the buy side. So congrats to them guys.
I don't understand how somebody could squeeze themselves into that small space.
It's tough. It's very tough.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. This is something else to point out, at least. It looks like a beautiful house.
Yeah.
And congrats to everyone involved. I agree. Some of these bigger homes are harder to pull together and complete a sale. You commonly have very strong-willed people on both sides. So finding compromise could be a little harder. But one thing to point out here, 4 photos total, all exterior, that is something, as a buyer, you can make that request. We're seeing that more nowadays, that you can make the request that if you don't want all the interior photos of your house to be left online, that they be deleted in the MLS before escrow closes for privacy purposes. Yeah. So keep that in mind, buyers.
Yep. $14 million property or not. Yeah, you want that, you should get it.
Right. Exactly. Could be on $1 million or $500,000 property for that matter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's run over to actives. These are new listings in the last 7 days. Let me go run over there. So we had 31 solds the last 7 days. I think it was similar on the news.
Yeah, 31. Yep.
Oh, was it? Oh, exactly.
That's correct. So another break-even week, a couple weeks of basically break-even numbers. No increase in inventory, no decrease really.
Up. Okay. Okay, so we can start in our neck of the woods, Darren.
Yeah, let's start with Sereno Drive. Looks like a nice house from the curb appeal. It's a high price, 3,888. I'm guessing there's an Asian person involved in that. What is the? Do you know, Joe? I should know, but I don't. Is just 8s are lucky?
I don't have enough Asian culture in me to answer.
But But you have some, right? So you should
I
have been
have
more the
some.
authority.
Yeah.
Yes. All
Yeah.
right. All right. I'm gonna look that up.
2157 Moreno Drive, 5 bedroom, 4 bath, 3,461 square feet of living space. And yeah, listed at 3,888,000. I think it is lucky. 7,000 square foot lot. There are opens scheduled this week. Tomorrow, 11 to 2. And then, let's see, the 7th, 11/7, that is Sunday. And that'll be 1 to 4 p.m. Originally built 1928. And let's see, brought to us by Karen Lower over at Compass.
Cool. It looks great.
Yeah.
Hey Joe, I have to be off by 3, so
Yeah.
let's just kind of scoot through these. We've got about 5 minutes.
What's next?
Let's do Blake. I always like doing the lower priced ones. So we have a 1264 Blake.
Oops. Is that your school in the back? What is
Yeah, there's some activity outside.
that? Okay. Blake. There it is. All right. I was thinking too, I need to get off to the valley. Let's see. Okay. 1990 Blake Avenue. This is 3 bedroom, 3 bath, 1,633 square feet of living space. This is Frogtown, right? Or Elysian
Yeah, Elysian Valley.
Valley?
Yeah.
Elysian Valley. Small lot, 3,790. Let's see. Open house tomorrow, 11 to 2. Days on market, 3. And 1950 was its original build year. Brought to us by Linda Chamberlain at Normand and Associates. So yeah, what do you have to say about this one?
It's really clean. It looks fantastic. It really does. It's a small space. I'm always inspired by the use of smaller spaces and how to make them efficient and functional because it takes some effort to do that. They've even taken the garage and made it a little guest space with an additional bathroom. So this is going to sell fast. Even though it's small, it's in a neighborhood with a lot of accessibility and growing opportunities along the river. And it's completely move-in ready. So congratulations. And it should be an active listing.
Cool. All right. One more?
Sure. Let's do, I saw this one. I sent it to a client of ours, Dahlia, 5470 Dahlia Drive.
Okay. Okay, Eagle Rock. Oops, there it goes. Okay, 5470 Dahlia Drive, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,242 square feet. 1,995,000 is list price. It's on an 11,497 square foot lot. Open houses tomorrow, 11 to 2, and then Thursday, 12 to 2. 1928 original build. It's been on the market for only 4 days, and this is brought to us by Henry Placencia.
Yeah. Good, great agent, good guy. This is a great property. Looks beautiful. It's a lot of square footage. It's a big lot. It's got so much going for it. Now, for our clients, the question was its proximity to the freeway. That northern Eagle Rock area that abuts the 134 is very nice and very tranquil and has a lot of large properties. For some people, they don't want to be that close to the 134, but if you're okay with that, what a great property.
Great. Well, good luck to Henry. Good luck to our clients. And I guess the only thing I can end up with, Darren, is Art Unite. We have Art Unite on the brain. This is our community event. It's coming up in 16 days, I counted, Darren. RSVP, we've got some great pieces of art from truly some great artists of Los Angeles. I'll give you an example, Darren. I met with Frank Romero famous for his murals and other art. And he lived in Angelino Heights for, he said, 30 years. He is very much an Echo Park guy for many years and was very happy to support with a beautiful painting. So check out artunite.org, check out the art, and we'll see you next week, Monday, 2 o'clock. All right? Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye now.